In the face of this government's multiple incompetencies, overlapping, interlocking incompetencies, U-turns, replacing people with new people who do nothing to change the situation, fail to sort it out, coming up with policies, throwing those policies away, failing to turn up to defend those policies, not having any idea why anybody thought any of those policies were a good idea in the first place. It's actually quite difficult for me to choose what subject to talk about in a once-a-week video. I mean, ultimately, I kind of need a 24/7 rolling news channel like Talk TV to get through just the basic list of everything that Liz Truss and co have done that is blindingly, unbearably stupid. But it doesn't seem like Rupert Murdoch wants to fund a channel that tells the actual ruddy truth. So here we are. And what I'm going to focus on this week is Therese Coffey, the new Health Secretary, who is entrusted with the world's greatest health service, the NHS, falling apart of the seams due to years and years and years of underfunding doctors, nurses, NHS staff not being treated fairly despite having put their lives on the line week in and week out during the pandemic, before it and afterwards, and despite being expected to fill the gaps caused by huge levels of understaffing, caused again by their refusal to fund it properly and their refusal to actually get to the heart of the situation and protect this service that is so vital to all of us in the UK. What she is doing instead is acting like she can solve the problem by allowing pharmacies to dispense antibiotics. Now, in case you've been living under some sort of anti-scientific rock for the last 2 decades, there is a huge global problem with increasing resistance to antibiotics, and that is driven by 2 factors. One is the overprescription of antibiotics to conditions which would have got better on their own and didn't need antibiotics, and also to conditions which are viral and or fungal or whatever, and therefore will not respond to antibiotics. That's the first issue. And the second issue is broad spectrum antibiotics being kind of thrown at the problem inaccurately, rather than using specific targeted antibiotics, which are therefore less likely to build up a resistance in other infections that are out there. Both of these problems are hugely exacerbated by allowing chemists to dispense antibiotics, because yes, of course, they'd have to ask you some questions, but the fact is that we all know what to say at the chemists if we want to get certain treatments. We've all been in to pick up medicines that are actually for someone else, and they've gone, is this for yourself? Yes. Do you definitely have this condition? Yes. Fine. Great. We all know that that's what people do, and it's not surprising. It's understandable. In fact, it's not even a huge problem as long as people are honest about it and careful about it. And it's certainly not a huge problem when we're talking about medicines that, using them when you don't really need them isn't a problem, or using the wrong one isn't a problem. But when it comes to antibiotics, where both of those things are a huge, huge problem, that is exactly the kind of thing that we shouldn't be allowing chemists to hand out. And at the same time, again, chemists will not be expected to ask in-depth questions to narrow it down to the exact medical condition that patients have and make sure that the most targeted and most appropriate antibiotics for the situation are given to them. Of course not. So we're going to end up just basically accepting that in the future, antibiotics will stop being a weapon in our arsenal that we can use to fight disease and keep people well. And as if the NHS didn't have enough problems. On top of it, now even the medicine that they have got is going to work less and less well, because Therese Coffey cannot be bothered to look at the real problem and address it and come up with real solutions. And that's our lives that are going to be lost as a result. So, there's other incompetences as well, but it just felt like it would be worth mentioning that one, since it's, about our lives and all that. Yeah. See you next week, or maybe sooner, because as you can see, I've got a lot to burn through. I might do another one. Watch this space.